Black Crane Supplements, home of the legendary chewable pre-workout No Hydro. Instant absorption for skin-bursting pumps and marathon endurance. Recover faster and train harder with No Hydro. Stop wasting your hard-earned money on products that make you feel sick and don't deliver your desired results. Attack your stubborn fat at the source and feel great all day. Melt your stress, drop that bloat, and get in the best shape of your life with Halcyon Shred. Black Crane Supplements was founded upon real science and is a firm believer that less is more. We never tax your adrenal glands or use any cost-cutting ingredients that could be detrimental to your health or performance. Check out blackcranesupplements.com.
10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio. Watch out!
Of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician Chris Aceto on this February 12th, 2018 afternoon. And Chris, this is well, it's I don't know what's more important. It's Valentine's Day this week, and it's also my 50th birthday week. So
wow,
yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah, a lot of celebrating going on.
I always
50.
50.
50.
Yeah.
Half a
century.
Half 100 years. Yeah, half a century.
It's crazy. Yeah. I was trying to think back. I'm like, what was the, like, when you turned 50, what do you think was the most important lesson in life that you had learned up to that point? Well, I could probably ask you now. You're only 50, 52 now?
51. Don't push it.
Yeah. What do you think was the most important lesson that you had learned, in your first 50 years? If you had to
be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient.
That's a good one.
If you are patient, you can conquer a lot. Decisions made today don't have to necessarily be made today. Decisions don't have to be made in a vacuum. You can ask people. You can change your mind. All those are stem from being patient.
I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to probably from the age of,
because you're not patient when you're 18, right?
Right. But I will say one thing. I'm going to tell you one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if this has to do with belief in yourself, but from the ages of probably, whenever I can remember, usually about 4 is when I start remembering what I was doing in life. From 4 to I want to say 14 years old, maybe 13, 14 years old. Anything that I thought I envisioned, I did. It was like, I think I can do this, and I did it, and it was like everything seemed easy. And then I hit those mid-teen years, and everything started feeling hard. And because I think you become a doubter, and things go on in your life, and you're going through that awkward teenage stage. And then it took me a long time to really build back to that confidence level. And for some reason, at this point in my life, I feel like I have more confidence in that if I put my mind to something, I can definitely do it easily, and I think that comes with
that's due to experience.
Yeah, experience.
Yeah, and failures.
Yeah, and I think also you learn patience as well.
Yeah,
I think your mind, when you get older, to a certain point, then you lose your mind, like our dads. But I think your mind, when you get to a certain point, is so unwaveringly powerful that you could create more easily in your life. Because, obviously we all know thoughts create reality, and if you think negatively, you get negative shit in your life. You think positive, you get positive shit in your life. And I think we've mastered at this point thinking about what we really want and focusing on that and not on the negatives. And I think we achieve more because of that creation process. And not everyone does it.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm always impressed. That's why I'm always super impressed when, some people can do that when they're 20.
Yes, yes.
20, 21,
yeah. Doesn't that
22.
drive you crazy when you see people like that?
Yeah, they got a plan, they got patience,
right.
They got drive, but they got patience. You know what I mean? They got
Jay Cutler.
yeah. He had it all planned out when he called me. I just, it's funny. I just went to this. I was just thinking of him because I went to this art reading where you tell a story of success.
Mm-hmm.
You tell a story of success, and people went up and this lady told a story about beating cancer. Another guy told the story about coaching a state championship soccer team, And
doesn't that suck when you're there and you beat cancer and someone tells a story about beating cancer before you? It's like, oh, well, I guess I can't go up there now.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I thought Jay like called me the first time and thinking like he had it all mapped out in his head. He just all he needed to do was execute from there.
What did he say to you?
Well, he wanted to be a big time bodybuilder, and I think I have the potential. And people.
Did he say
always
Mr. Olympia?
I have the potential.
Did he say Mr. Olympia, or did he say I just want to be a big time bodybuilder?
Big time bodybuilder, but I think if you quizzed him, which you should sometime, he probably meant Mr. Olympia, but he didn't want to come across sounding arrogant.
Right.
So, but he had this whole grand scheme plan, and from day one, and he was very patient for his age. Remember, he turned down the only person to turn down a
Weider contract.
A Weider contract.
Before you went to a pro, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that?
So I mean, he was patient. He was going to wait for the big one to come in.
But Jay is very calculating and very focused on his thinking. Do you think a guy like Ronnie Coleman had that same mindset? Like, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia, or did he just be like, yeah, whatever happens, happens? Like, I mean, I always wondered that, like, because Ronnie is just a genetic freak of nature, but trains hard. Do you think in his brain he's very focused on like, hey, I'm going to be Mr. Olympia one day?
Yeah, I think at some point it probably switched. You know what I mean? He probably got into bodybuilding
as a joke.
To do a show, whatever, and then your focus changes, and as you win, you build confidence. I mean, he was winning from day one, really. He won the Texas State Championship. He came out and then he turned pro like within a couple of years, and
not even the next year. The next year he did the nationals. He was what, fourth or fifth, and then fourth he was, and then he went to the World Championships like the week after and turned pro.
Yep. So, I mean,
natural.
It's crazy. So, but once he got in the groove and stuff, of course, your focus changed. The more success you get, the more success you want.
Sure.
It's called greed.
Yeah. No, but it's interesting because some people know right from the beginning what they want to do, and then other people kind of. I think I was one of those guys, just kind of figured it out along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you never. Did you always want to be into real estate when you were younger?
Yeah, I one day I'm gonna. You know what, Dave? I'll probably do it tonight. I found a article written about me in like a little tiny bodybuilding magazine, and I was 17. It was 1984, and I said I want to get into like hotel management or real estate. I was 18. 17. 17.
Wow. And what was your
16?
What do you think got you interested in that right from the beginning?
I beat my brother Monopoly a lot. No, no, because I just I knew people, became wealthy or built wealth or through real estate, and I just always liked the idea of like going to hotels. That was about my experience at 16 years old. I'd like to go to hotels.
Right.
And then I realized at 16, there's like Super 8 motels and Holiday Inn, but then there's like big time hotels. Mm-hmm. And my father used to run an amusement park on the ocean that there were all these like mom and pop hotels. And sometimes you'd see like mom and pop hotels go to the next level. And I'd say, I could do that. I could take a hotel to the next level.
Interesting. It's interesting how, and I was always like, very into animals, like I always wanted to do things with animals. So I guess, that kind of plays out. I think a lot of times when you have thoughts and interests when you're younger, a lot of times you just think, well, they're just amusements and hobbies. I'm never going to be able to make a living from it. And, I mean, think about this, Chris. When we were kids, remember we would play video games like Atari and television, mm-hmm. and our parents would be like, you're wasting your time. People make money playing video games now. They have like tournaments, and people are endorsed, and it's big time cash, and then the people who program these video games are making big bucks. Who in their right mind would have thought that? I mean, back then.
Well, you don't know. You don't know where your interests in life are going to take you. That's for sure. Though my father always told me, and my brother, he's always told me you can't eat the weights. And my brother was a swimmer, and he said you can't drink you can't drink the pool water. In other words, you can't make a living from swimming. Of course, he did.
Yeah, you can.
It's funny. Yeah, he did make a living from swimming.
Oh, he did? Your brother did?
Yeah. He went on to, he went on to coach college swimming.
I didn't know that.
He's in Florida. He's in Orlando.
Oh, wow. And he teaches swimming there?
Yeah, he teaches swim. He teaches like high school swimming.
Cool.
Or coaches high school swimming.
I came to the right place to do it. That's for sure. You got to come.
Yeah,
to Florida.
exactly.
You got to come to Florida to do that. You see, speaking of video games, I held this. I think I told you I was holding this carpet fest. It was like a snake day at my house, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But one of the girls there, one of the things she does with her, I think, boyfriend or husband is they sell online old video games. Now, I didn't realize this, but there's like a market for these things. Like if you have like these old, what do they call it? Super Sega? I don't know.
Sega, yeah.
I don't know. There's all these old time. I asked her about Intellivision because I had some Intellivision cartridges. She's like, no, they're not worth that much. What was the thing that came right after it?
Who knows? You would know.
They're paying up to like $500 for these video games.
You probably can get them in like Goodwills in Maine and stuff.
I'm saying if you could find these things, they're selling online, according to this woman, for big money. And I'm like, really? People want to play these old video games? She's like, yeah. And I was like, well, I guess I underestimated the market. People will collect anything, you know. It's like when people can't go forward anymore, they go backwards, and they start liking the old stuff, you know, better.
Yeah, people love the old stuff. Old stuff on anything.
It's like these lunatics who collect vinyl records.
You name it.
Like, who would want a vinyl record at this point? I mean,
you can get those anywhere in Maine. These flea stores, flea shops.
But these people are nuts about it because they think that the music doesn't sound as good on the digital music. You know, I got to get the record.
You can hear the imperfections probably on the vinyl.
I don't know. They say that it sounds better, but I don't know. I don't listen. I'm not that much of a music audiophile that I really know the nuances of it. You know, to me, it's easier if it's digitally available. You can have 4,000 songs on your iPhone if you really wanted to. Speaking
of you see Quincy Jones' big interview this week?
Yeah. What did you think about that? He said
he said Marlon Brando used to date
Richard Pryor. They were banging each other.
And Marvin Gaye.
Well, Marvin Gaye was gay, right? His name is what?
And Richard Pryor. No, Richard Pryor's wife said it was true.
Well, I saw an interview with. I went on TMZ and I read the interview with Richard Pryor's ex-wife, and she said that I don't know. Was she the one who said it? Marlon Brando would fuck a mailbox. They said back then.
Yeah.
He was men, women. It didn't matter. And Richard Pryor was openly bisexual. So. It wasn't like he didn't hide it from anyone. He told everyone. And they were doing massive drugs like coke and all kinds of crazy heroin.
Yeah, remember that was Richard Pryor, he burnt his skull off or something.
He was freebasing. He blew himself up. Yeah, he was freebasing.
Yeah, blew himself up.
And he did a great comedy routine after he came back from that, too.
Yeah.
But he got Parkinson's, right, from all the drugs he did.
What's that? He
got Parkinson's, didn't he? Isn't that how he died?
Oh, yeah. That's what he died from, Parkinson's. Yeah. They said he fried his nervous system or something.
Yeah. But yeah, he and what else did he? Oh, did you know that Marvin Gaye? Not Marvin Gaye. Who's the guy who did the interview?
Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones dated Ivanka Trump. Did you?
Yeah. He was much younger. He was 72 at the time.
That's kind of a weird relationship,
so
right?
There's room for you, Dave.
Yeah.
20. Yeah, your birthday's this week, Valentine's this week. In 22 years, you'll be dating.
Yeah. I already have a young wife. So do you. We don't need to go any lower. Any lower, it's too much. You know, the funny thing is that you wouldn't think that, like, Trump would let his daughter date a black guy, right?
Well, you know, it was like a business. You know how it is.
I don't know. I think
we don't know if Donald Trump knew.
Oh, you think maybe she just kept it on the down low from him?
Yeah. So the way because she was trying to model. Right, and she was trying to make the connections. Mm-hmm. So one of the way you make a connection is she probably did go out on a date with him, go out to dinner with Quincy Jones, and you
could put it in his commemorative biography, right?
Yeah.
Or what's going on?
If anything had happened, he would have said it probably, right? Quincy Jones.
I didn't know he was.
He would have been bragging about it.
Yeah.
He said he went out on a date.
I don't know if you can hear my son's on the monitor. He's up. He's having a rough night.
Of course he's up.
My wife ran up there. Amanda ran up there to check him out. Usually sleeps through the night. I don't know what his problem is.
What'd I tell you? You got to give him a little GABA.
Yeah, I know. He needs it. He's having a rough night. He had a lot of excitement. She took him to the gymnastics gym in the morning, and
Oh,
then he
that's
came
nice.
over and there was a bunch of kids at this. So I held this carpet fest, which stands for Carpet Python, but it's all snakes, people, and I didn't know what to expect. You know, I offered my house because I have a big piece of property. I have the separate building. They asked me if I would host it because they probably knew that I had a bigger building, and I said, yeah, whatever. They said, look, we'll do everything, and you know, so I was nervous because I see there's like 30 people. People are RSVPing. I'm like, there's a lot of people coming. I'm telling this guy Ian Bissell, who, ironically, Ian Bissell breeds green tree pythons, and he also works for just ironically, he works for these supplement production companies. So, like, you know, if I order from a manufacturer, like my protein, he somehow reps these companies and make sure the ingredients they get are you know, properly, I guess, spec'd and all this stuff. So we kind of had a commonality. So he's like, look, I'll do everything. I'll get people to. Everyone's going to volunteer to bring things. I'm like, all right, whatever. So this morning, everyone shows up like a caravan of people, just with everything. Like, I didn't have to do anything. It was unbelievable. And they cleaned up. They stayed late. It was all day.
They should come in and cater the guru seminars.
The guru seminars. You're right. So I said, so even Amanda said, she's like, wow, this is not like the bodybuilding crew who comes and they want everything for free.
Organized. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, so this guy, Ty Park, who's a retired restaurateur, I guess you could say, he came to the Snake Day, basically, and I was bullshitting with him. You would have loved him. He's into like real estate, and now he bought this crazy like 12-acre plot in Punta Gorda, which is not too far from my house, and he basically built this outdoor reptile facility. He wants to build a zoo eventually. That's what he's trying to do. So I think he came to my house to see my little setup because he was like, oh, I really like this building, the way you have it set up. I need an indoor thing. Most of his enclosures are outdoor, which is dangerous in Florida because, you know, you get hurricanes. I said, what happened during the hurricane? Did you get damage? He's like, oh, yeah, we got a lot of damage. And they're repairing buildings and stuff because, you know, things blow away.
Sure.
People forget that. You know, Amanda and I drove down the block the other day, and we saw them building a wood frame house. I'm like, they're building a 2-story wood frame house? Don't they know? And my wife's like hurricane, like, phobic.
Yeah.
And which is for good reason. I found out when we had this last hurricane. And I don't know why they even build wood frame houses here anymore. It's crazy. Things blow away.
Yeah, you know what? I think when we first came to your house, you mentioned blah, 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 blah. So in case of a hurricane, and sure enough, you guys had a hurricane.
Yeah, I know. Thank God. That building we have on my property is wind rated at like 150 miles per hour. So it has to be a pretty serious hurricane for that thing to go down. That's like Armageddon if you got more than that. You know?
Exactly. If it blows away, it doesn't matter. We won't be doing the radio show.
Yeah, I think they still don't have electricity in Puerto Rico from that crazy storm. Believe it or not.
They may not. I think you're right, actually.
It's just getting it back in certain areas. Wipe them out for good. Now, I don't know if you saw Ronnie Coleman, 8-time Mr. Olympia, had his 8th surgery. Now, he told me once in an interview, he goes, I have 8 kids. I think they're all daughters, too. I have 8 Olympia titles, and I'm going to need 8 back surgeries. I said, 8? I said, I think we were only at 6 or 5 at that time. I'm like, well, why do you think 8? He goes, well, because I got to get one more to do this, and I have a feeling I'm going to need this. So he's at his 8th back surgery, and he's out. I think they took some parts out, but from what I understand, it was a pretty gross procedure because they had to go through his stomach, and they had to move his intestines out of the way to get to his spine from the inside rather than the outside. Because think about it, there's 2 parts to your spine. If you cut through your back, you can get to the outer portion, but you can't get to the inner portion. To get to the inner portion, you got to go through the front. And to get to the front, you got to get the organs out of the way.
What is it with his back that's requiring 8 surgeries?
He busted.
I mean, did he break it, or did it just degenerate, or is it arthritis?
I think everything. I think he busted up a lot of vertebrae in there from all that crazy, you know, those squats and the deadlifts, and you know, he's got very loose form. When Ronnie was winning these Olympias and he was doing these crazy lifts, you remember in the gym we were watching all these crazy Mitsuru Okabe videos he was doing. I'm like, this guy is the most unbelievable bodybuilder because not only is he a great bodybuilder and he's got great genetics, but he's indestructible. I was always amazed by it.
That's what one of the names of his video was unbelievable.
Yeah. I wanted... It's
not indestructible, though, but unbelievable.
Yeah, when I was working with MD, I said, we should put the headline, Unbreakable. This guy can't be damaged. Think about it. Look at the weights he's using. He's not a young guy. He was in his, he was 40 years old at the end of his career, in his 40s. He was still winning Olympias. He's 300 pounds on stage almost. The guy's enormous. He's lifting godforsaken weights. I can't even believe how much weight he's lifting with the worst form I've ever seen. And he's still going strong. I didn't think this guy could be destroyed. I thought he was inhuman,
Well, that's what
now he's paying the price. And I'm sure he doesn't care. Like you said, you ask him and he's like, the only regret he has is that he didn't lift more when he did those crazy lifts.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that he didn't win 9.
No, well, I'm sure that's a regret too, but that's got to suck, right? I mean, because he actually had the opportunity. He went for it. Like Haney stopped after 8, but he actually was at 8 and he tried for 9. Jay beat him, and then he came back and lost again. So, but he's still the greatest bodybuilder of all time in my mind. But
well, I was thinking about that.
You were.
Yeah, you know what? As much as I make fun of him, if Dexter wins the Arnold, I think he's going to have to be crowned the greatest.
Yeah, but he only won one. He only won one Olympia.
I know, but it's just so bizarre, dude.
Well,
I mean,
we're not talking about the best record. We're talking about the best physique.
I know. You're right. But it's just all bizarre that he's.
In other words, if we lined up all the top guys of all time in a lineup, who wins? That's the best.
Yeah.
Does Ronnie beat everyone in the history of bodybuilding? Does he beat 93 Dorian?
I guess you have to put asterisks like Major League Baseball next to some of the records.
No, why? Just does he beat?
Because what do you think Arnold would have?
Well, he would have crushed Arnold because Arnold had no legs. But I'm saying now,
given the Arnold would have had him. I mean, right?
No, I'm just saying, given the physiques of their time, okay, does Coleman beat 93 Dorian?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a tough one. Does he beat 91 Haney?
Kill him. 98 Coleman, easy.
Okay. Does he beat Jay at his best? Yes.
98 Coleman, yeah.
Does he beat Flex Wheeler at his all-time best?
Yeah.
Okay. So who doesn't he beat? He beats Phil easily. Obviously that's a no-brainer. I don't know. I don't think Coleman. There's no one out there who's better than him.
Yeah.
Even if you look at the guys who didn't win the Olympia, like the best Levroni we've ever seen, that couldn't even be Dorian, the best Levroni. He came in second that year in '92. So I don't know.
That answers that.
That's the question. Yeah, that's the question anyway. Yeah. So we're wishing Ronnie a quick recovery. He wasn't walking for me. I don't even know what his walking status is now, but obviously he was doing a lot better. I know he's back in the gym. He's still walking with some stabilizers in his hand. He has to use those like crutches. But he's coming back. Ronnie doesn't have anything to do pretty much all day, but think about weight training and recovery and stuff like that. So he's focused. We just talked about earlier. If you focus on what you want to do, you have that kind of like belief in yourself, like Ronnie does. I don't think he could fail. I think he'll will himself to come back, and be normal again. I think at this point he really just wants to be able to train and just be a normal guy. But he's also got this mentality that I got to lift heavy weights. He even told me, he goes, I'm still going to lift heavy weights. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's not such a good idea. You got a lot of hardware in you. You don't have your normal body anymore.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be. You know what's so funny?
What?
I knew I was at the 1995 Montreal Grand Prix, and that was Flex Wheeler in his heyday.
Yeah.
People don't know. They like, they don't know the sequence of events in which Coleman came up. And at that show, Coleman upset Wheeler.
Was it 95? You sure? I don't think it was that far back.
Yes, it was.
Sure, it was 95, 6 or 7?
No, because he won 2 years in a row. He won 95 and he won 96.
So that must have been
almost
a huge
100%.
Upset. That was a huge upset.
Yeah, it was 95. I'm positive it was 95. I went out to eat with the Mind thereafter. That was the first time I ever sat down with Milos.
Was he talking about insulin back then?
I'm not sure. I can't remember what he was talking about.
I bet he was.
I just remember him eating 500 grams of protein. That was his thing. 500 grams of carbohydrates. That was his what he died on for that show. He looked great, and Milos had a tremendous routine, and looked great. He got third, and Wheeler got second, and I thought Coleman smoked everybody.
You're right.
He did.
Canada Pro Cup.
But I didn't think that he would win, because I figured they wouldn't, quote, give it to him, because Wheeler was just so popular at the time.
All right, I'm going to correct you. All right, here we go. 95 Canada Pro Cup, he did win. He beat Gunther Schlittkamp, Milos, Claude Gruel, and Gaspari.
Okay, well, I was there 2 years in a row then.
Then the second year, 96 at the Canada Pro, that's when he beat Wheeler, and Milos was third. Akam Albrecht fourth,
I was there 2 years in a row, so I did get maybe I ate with Milos in 96, but so he'd already proven that he could beat Wheeler twice. And he posed to a Barbra Streisand song in 95.
Oh, really?
If you can believe it. The Big Nasty, yes.
Wow. What would you say his weaknesses were then? His back wasn't that big, right?
95, he was just, 96,
yeah.
He was, just getting ready to go to the very next level. But he was pretty much next level already. His back double was just like crazy peeled. Look at it.
Yeah, well, that 96 was the one he really kind of established himself. He had he won that one show, but I think then he lost. Didn't he lose to Flex in Florida? Yeah, the Florida Pro.
Yeah.
Milos was third again on that show. What a poor Milos. He had to go up against Coleman and
Wheeler
at those shows. Ronnie did like 18 shows in 96 and 7. 97 he did seriously 15 shows, all the Grand Prix and stuff like that, and he won the Russia Grand Prix.
Yeah, because he was tired by the time he got to the Olympia. He got ninth. Seriously.
The funny thing is, in 98 he must have done the Night of Champions and he must have done San Francisco Pro the week before Night of Champions. I think that's what it was.
Which year?
In 98, the year he won the Olympia, because he lost to Levrone in San Francisco.
Yeah, then he beat Levrone the next week.
The week after at Night of Champions, he won.
Yeah, and Irv Gelb called me and said that Coleman got screwed and was going to kill him the next week, and he did.
That's funny.
But he called because people didn't even have cell phones. I don't think.
And then the week after,
they had cell phones.
Then the week after Night of Champions, he did Toronto Pro. No, guys don't do that anymore. Where they do 3 shows in a weekend, and then he did the Olympia, and then he won 3 Grand Prix after the Olympia.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I just like to compete, Dave.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Crazy. What a career Ronnie had, right?
Yeah. The only person I know who followed the 500 no carb diet.
You think Milos ever tried to give Ronnie any advice?
Who knows? Everyone asks. I told you, everyone has asked Milos at least 10 questions once.
How do you go ask Milos questions when you beat Milos at the show, and then you're like, oh, Milos, what's your insulin protocol?
Because it was like this. Because Coleman would say that like this. I got better genetics than Milos, but he looks good, so I'm going to ask him what's he doing.
You're probably right.
Right?
You're probably right.
Milos is the encyclopedia. I don't like the word the mind.
Yeah.
I think it's the encyclopedia. Milos just,
Milos has an answer for you whether it's right or not. He'll give you a very complex answer. So, more gossip I heard from an inside source that the owner of EnhancedAthlete.com, not Tony Huge, because he's not the owner. He's the rep, and he licenses the name. But the owner is in jail.
Wink, wink. But go ahead.
The owner is in jail. It's not Tony Huge. It's the other guy. I don't know.
I predicted that eons ago. Tony's next.
Yeah, I think they got to find him. He's probably hiding off in Thailand.
Well, if they can find him, the Lady
Boys,
then he'll definitely be next.
The Lady Boys, he is hiding out there. Speaking of Lady Boys, I had Big Lenny has been a very popular guy on our website this last 2 weeks. I had him on the new Heavy Muscle TV show with the new Whack Pack that I have assembled. Big Lenny, Boston Lloyd, Greg Valentino, John Romano. And we did a show this past week. It got a lot of raving reviews. People.
What is it? All one big site festival? Is that what it is?
What I do is I just put together a bunch of topics and I just bounce them off these guys and let them just ramble. It's great. One of the things when
Go ahead. Is there a moderator, or is there?
Yeah, I'm the moderator. I don't even say. I don't give my opinion. I just ask questions.
Like I said, is there a moderator?
I'm just instigating trouble. That's all. Yeah. Big Lenny. I asked Big Lenny if he thought he was a racist. You know, people accuse him of being a racist. He's like, "Why am I a racist? Because I use the term porch monkey."
There's black people in my state.
He's like, he doesn't think words. And then I asked Romano. I said, "Do you think that Big Lenny is a racist?" I said, "He's like, no more than I am." He goes, "No more than I am for calling Michelle Obama a shaved down ape." And Lenny, for some reason, thought it was the funniest thing he had ever heard. That Romano said that Michelle Obama was a shaved down ape, and and so I got a couple. Most people love the show because they know it's all tooth and because I'm basically just mocking all these people, and having fun with it. And one guy said he was very upset that I'm giving Lenny a platform to espouse his racial hatreds, And so I said, look, first of all, I said, anyone who takes Big Lenny serious has got mental problems to begin with, I said. And it was pretty funny.
You mean take him serious that he's not a racist, or take him serious that he's just not I don't
think he's a racist, number one, and I think even if he was being serious, I don't think you could take Lenny serious because I don't think Lenny's that serious about anything. I don't even know if he has his insights are that serious, but people love him. He's a fan favorite, and I'm working on getting his his big midsection. He calls himself the Tom Platz of abs, Abzilla. They call it, because he's got this humongous, probably 50+ inch waist on stage. So I made a very bold statement. I said I'm going to get his waist down 10 inches. 10 inches. I'm promising 10 inches.
In how long?
In 6 months. One time he's ready to compete at the Ruby. The Ruby Classic is like Big Lenny's Olympia. He does it down here in Florida every year. And I actually tried to set up a competition between him and Boston Lloyd. And I want to get Boston because Boston's in retirement now. So I said, Boston, Big Lenny's challenging you. I think you should get up at the Ruby Classic. You versus Lenny. And Lenny's like, that's if he can make the super heavyweights. I said, Boston, we'll get Boston in the super heavyweights. They'll double the dosage that he's taking. We'll get Boston into the super heavies, and it'll be Big Lenny versus Boston pose down. So I don't know if Boston needs a little more. Like Boston's like, I need more time to prepare. I'm like, you need time to prepare for Lenny. I said, if you need time to prepare for Lenny, you're in big trouble. Yeah, you better retire. Yeah, you better call Muelis up for his insulin protocol. So, so Lenny loved that. So the fans love Lenny. Now every video we put up, everyone's like, how come Lenny's not in the video? I did like a Coleman video, like on wishing him best of luck, and I told the big Coleman story about how strong he was at one of the metrics booths we used to work together. And everyone's like, where's Lenny in this video? Like, then they want Lenny in every video, that we do. All the Lenny fans. So. The purpose of Lenny likes the lady boys, so maybe we should send Lenny to Thailand looking for Tony Huge.
Yeah, we could.
The feds can hire Lenny for the weekend.
Give him put a bounty on Tony Huge's head.
Speaking of hotel management, Lenny works in food services at the hospital, at a big hospital where he lives.
What's that mean?
Del Rey. He works in food services. It's like isn't that kind of similar to hotel management? Food services,
maybe like Motel 8 hotel management.
No, it's a big hospital he works at.
Both begin with H. That's about.
He gets free food. He gets free food out of it. Come on, Chris.
He steal the steroids in the doctor whatever the.
What?
I don't know. Wherever you would.
Out of the hospital. I don't know. Yeah. I have to ask him where he gets his steroids.
Not at a hotel.
Yeah, maybe he's got a good. Maybe that's why he works in the hospital. Maybe he gets free growth hormone or something like that from them. Maybe they're giving him the old Crest Corman. Remember that?
So why is his stomach so big?
Maybe I'm saying maybe they're giving him the old human growth hormone. You remember the Crest Corman where they used to isolate it from the human cadavers?
Yeah.
Not Chris Cormier. Crest Corman. It was called. It was.
Yes. Yeah. From cadavers.
True story. Tazzy Colom, who's a IFBB pro female bodybuilder, everyone probably knows her. She was dating this guy Mike, and Mike was a former cop, but his dad was a big neurosurgeon in the New Orleans area. And when his dad was doing a lot of that original research on the growth. He told me the story. May he rest in peace. He's not around anymore. Mike died, but Big Mike looked like Goldberg from the WWE. And Mike said his dad was doing research back in the day, like in the 80s, on cadaver growth hormone. And he'd have tons of it in his refrigerator. Mike was a big powerlifter bodybuilder at the time. So he's like, I used to take it out and I used to use it. I said, well, what was it like? He goes, it was like 100 times stronger than the synthetic stuff they have nowadays. I don't know if it was concentrated. I was taking it. I was growing. He goes, it was ridiculous how much I was gaining. He goes, it was scary. I had to stop using it. He goes, I got scared.
Well, either that, or all the GH around is fake, and that was real.
No, there was no synthetic growth hormone at the time. So he was just comparing to what was around nowadays when he was telling me the story. So maybe they're doing experiments. Maybe Lenny's getting extracted human growth hormone in the morgue, and then he's injecting it, and that's why he's getting some gut issues.
How would they make cadaver GH?
What they do is they go in, they actually take out the pituitary gland, they dry it out. I guess they lyophilize it. They dehydrate it. They powderize it. They must purify it somehow, and they put it into an injection form. I guess you inject the whole freaking thing. I don't know, because the growth hormone's stored in the pituitary. Because the pituitary, the anterior or the posterior pituitary, I think it is, or the anterior pituitary. I forget which part of it. I'm getting old. Actually stores the GH, and then that hypothalamus gland will send the signal, the GHRH, and tell the pituitary to release GH. So every human pituitary gland holds quite a bit of GH in it. So, if you get a couple cadavers and you get all the GH out of that thing, it's pretty potent. You probably have in your pituitary, you probably have like a week or 2 weeks supply in there, I would think, at all times. So, so maybe that's what Big Lenny, that's Lenny's secret, maybe, in the hospital. That's how he gets his abs so big. So that's Big Lenny. If you want to watch the Heavy Muscle TV show, it's episode 102. So we rebooted that. I don't know if we'll do it every week. We'll probably definitely do it every other week, though. So that's the plan. Let me see what else is going on. I have my little list. Oh, I did a great interview, as you know, with one of your clients, Kamal El Gargani. And he's an interesting guy. I didn't realize that he had won the world championships 7 times.
Yeah.
And people
Starting
may ask,
as a lightweight, I believe.
people may ask, well, why would he win it 7 times? Because you get a pro card if you win the world championships. Well, and he explained to us, and I had known this already, when you represent a lot of these countries in the Middle East, bodybuilding is like football there. It's like the number one sport. And they take great pride in that. And they pay you. If you win the world championships, you get paid. So he was actually from originally Libya. He had moved to Qatar because the Qataris were paying him to represent their team there. And every time he won the world championships, they would pay him $70,000. They'd give him a house and they'd give him a new car.
Not bad, right? A house, a car, and $70,000.
And then they
tax free.
Right?
Did you throw that in there?
No, I did not. I didn't know it was tax free.
No taxes and no health insurance costs.
Wow. And then on top of that, they held something called the Qatar Cup. They would hold every year, and the winner of that, which if you won the world championship, you always won the Qatar Cup, would get $30,000. So he was making $100,000 tax free. House to live in, car. Like you said, no medical insurance. He was living like the life of Riley over there. He was he was like LeBron James, this guy. So of course he wasn't going to turn pro because he was making more money as an amateur.
Yeah, he didn't want to take the pay cut.
You got to listen to the interview. There's a whole fiasco where they banned him. Rafael Santoja banned him because they said that they were trying to say that his team didn't pass the drug test, but he never failed any drug tests. This guy, poor guy. So he left. He went to the UK. He was living there. He opened the gym. He opened the gym in Libya. I actually asked him if he ever met Gaddafi. Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he met the son too. The son asked him, "Why don't you represent us?" Meanwhile, he was telling me that Gaddafi didn't like any athletes.
He's an egomaniac.
Yeah, he didn't want if I guess soccer's a big sport there. When the soccer players would play, they wouldn't say Kamal
Palumbo
Elgarny
changes it to-
scored the winning goal, they'd be like, number 72 scored it. Like, they wouldn't even say your name. So
They don't want any
he told
notoriety.
Gaddafi's son, he's like, look, he goes, I'm getting paid $100,000 and I'm getting a free house and car here. He goes, if you guys want to give me stuff in my own country, which would be nice, I'll come back there and represent you.
No, we don't have the budget.
Gaddafi's son, he's like, stay here. He knew his dad would never pay the money. You know, he knew his dad would never pay the money. So he stayed in Qatar, and then he, like I said, he went to the UK, and then he tried it. Then he realized, you know what, I'm going to go for my pro card. Why not? At this point in my career, you know, I'm older. He's in his 40s. I want to get my pro card and compete, and Raphael wouldn't give it to him. And he had a lot of run-ins, and they supposedly had a meeting. He had a meeting with
they had
Raphael
banned him
and
for
Jim
4
Mannion.
years. They had banned him for 4 years.
Yeah, but he actually, the dummy actually waited the 4 years.
Yeah, no, because he was supposed to do the Arnold last year.
Yeah. And Raphael, after the 4 years, wouldn't give him back the pro card. He said, you were banned for life. He's like, for what? I didn't fail a drug test. And so, thank God for Jim Mannion. You know, Jim Mannion gave him, as soon as they kicked out Raphael, Jim Mannion gave him the pro card, and he'll be obviously competing at this year's Arnold. And I think he could conceivably be the dark horse in this lineup, this 212 lineup. People better watch out for Kamal, because he's the real deal. I mean, you know better than I do. You see his pictures. He's sending you progress pictures. You're working with him. But this guy has won everything. Think about it. He's won every amateur show in the world. He's won the Asian Games. He's won the European Championships. He's won the World Championship 7 times. The Qatar Cup like 6 times. I don't think there's a show that the guy out there hasn't, an amateur show that he's lost.
Well, he got second to the Tom Platz of Abs at that. What's that show that he does every year?
The Ruby Cup, yeah. The
Ruby Cup. At the Ruby Cup.
The Ruby Cup, he did. Yeah, Kamal El-Garani did.
It was one of those shows. Kamal would come off, and Big Lenny had come really on.
He was doing it as a warm up. Lenny came and peeked out and beat Kamal. Yeah.
He called Big Lenny's not a racist, but he called him a raghead. Just for good measure.
That's right. So I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be very dangerous in this lineup. I would not want to be going up against this guy. Now, have we gotten word yet? A yay or nay? Will Hadi Chupin be in the Arnold?
I've been telling you no. He is not going to.
Okay, but I know you're predicting that. But do we know for sure?
Well, I predicted it in Kuwait.
Well, it's interesting because Kamal told me that he has lost to Hadi once in some show.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, he lost one time to him, but he's beaten him also before. But because I guess they were competing.
I didn't even know they competed against each other.
Yeah, because they were both in the amateur level and World Champ. I think he's beaten him more than I think Hadi beat him once, and he's beaten him after that. But they're going to go up against each other at that. They're both doing the New Zealand Pro.
Oh yeah, they'll probably go there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Kamal said he's going there, so they'll have their battle there. I guess that'll be an interesting show. I'm sure Mo El Musawi is probably licking his chops because that's his show. Mm-hmm. And to have 2 of those guys out there, that's going to be tremendous competition. All right.
Yeah, well, that's a scuttlebutt. I mean, we haven't heard if Hardy's doing a show. I just say absolutely positively no, but I don't know. People want to make believe that he is doing the show.
Yeah. So, you know the story I think I told you last week about the UPS delivery guy? I told that story, right? That he wouldn't deliver.
Amazon's going into the UPS business, by the way, but go ahead.
Amazon's going to the UPS?
Yeah, they
good.
FedEx and UPS stock took a hit because Amazon said, we're going to start doing delivery stuff.
They should. Imagine if they delivered their own stuff, how much cheaper it would be for them? I don't know what the infrastructure would cost to set up.
They're going to have grocery delivery soon as well, within 2 hours of your order.
I think they already do grocery delivery in certain areas, right?
Well, they do in certain areas, but they're going to try to roll it out.
What happened to the drones that are supposed to be dropping off everything instantaneously?
I don't know what happened. I don't know. I think maybe they ran into something with the FAA or something.
I think that whole thing was like, remember when Ronald Reagan said that we had Star Wars, and that we were going to shoot missiles out of the air like video games? I think that was an Amazon thing to make stock go up. You
can get Tony Huge's company can bring you
DNP
same day delivery. Yeah, I'm just gonna say DNP right to your door within 2 hours with their little DNP drone. They still can't find them, but they still deliver the DNP right to your door.
That would be a good way to deliver steroids if you got a good drone guy, right? And you could just drop it off at people's doorstep. Probably be good business to go into.
Cadaver GH.
So UPS. So I sent UPS the video I did, basically cursing them out and saying how terrible they are. And they sent me an email back, and they said, "We completely understand your frustration. This concern about the freight shipment has been forwarded to the delivering terminal. I also see that it's been addressed to our service center manager. I made a follow-up and requested the terminal to contact you to discuss further. You'll be contacted by 9 a.m. tomorrow." So the following day, at 9 a.m., I wasn't contacted. Probably about 2 in the afternoon, I was contacted, and I didn't answer the phone, and they left a message. I never called back because it was the same people that I've been talking to and arguing with for the last 2 weeks. So I'm like thinking, well, what the hell do I want to talk to these people? They're going to tell me the same stuff they told me before. I don't want to hear it. So I didn't respond. So I got a survey in the mail. I'm like you now. I ripped them apart in the survey.
Well, you can get a hook up with Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, I'm just going to use Amazon. You know what? Bodybuilding.com had dropped my product line for some reason. I don't know why at some point. And I was talking to them and trying to get it back. And this is years ago. And they would give me like a lot of like I almost felt like someone was like putting the sabotage on it. So Amazon contacted me and they're like, "We want to carry your product." I'm like, "Okay." And I do so much business with Amazon, and Amazon's putting Bodybuilding.com out of business anyway. So
my next thing was I thought Bodybuilding.com was out of business by now.
I don't know if they're out of it, but put it this way, Amazon put a huge hitting on them. So it's you never turn a customer down. I mean, I was a good customer with them.
In that so stupid. What is that called? Karma, poetic justice, or
And Amazon does really well with us. So. I don't get it. I think that these people do so well, these companies, and they think, wow, we're invincible. This is going to go on forever.
Nothing goes on forever.
You know what I say to people when they say that? I'm like, what happened to MySpace? Remember MySpace?
Yeah, of course.
MySpace
what happened to
Vinyl
Records? Vinyl Records, Sega.
Well, everyone thought MySpace was going to be the next greatest thing, and then Facebook came around, and MySpace is out of business. So I mean. And I'm sure that someone can do that to Facebook at some point if they're not careful. Because Facebook is pissing off a lot of people because when you post something on Facebook now, only a very small amount of people see it. All your friends don't see it. They limit it because what they want you to do is they want you to pay money to promote your posts. So like if I post something about I want to sell a tub of protein, I'm doing a sale on it, I have to pay them money to boost it so that everyone on my page can see it, a bigger audience. Otherwise, all my friends won't see it. So me having 5,000 friends and
what's the benefit
followers,
if you have 50,000? Yeah.
It doesn't matter because they're not even seeing most of the posts unless you're going to my page specifically to see. Oh, let's check Dave's page.
Yeah.
Which most people don't do. Most people just want to see what pops up on their timeline. Now you could pick, I think, like the top 10 things on your timeline that you are interested in, and those will always pop up. But I mean, you only have 10 things to pick. I mean, how many I'm missing a lot of stuff. So unless a person boosts their post so that more people can see it, you're not really seeing it. So it's a kind of a scam. Well, that's why a lot of people went over to Instagram. I like Facebook because it's very easy, but I'm finding that I have more. If I post something on Instagram, a lot more people see it. I'm noticing, and I have a lot more followers. I know you have a ton of followers. You have over 100,000 followers on Instagram. And I think that hopefully they don't do the same thing to Instagram, but that's that's how they ruin things, these companies, and that's how they wind up getting supplanted by other people. But I think doesn't Facebook own Instagram?
I think they do. Yeah, they do. They do. Yes.
So they don't care.
I think they own that, and I think they own WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. It's good acquisitions for them. I mean, I'm sure they spent a lot of money on it.
And I think they bought the rest of the DMP that Tony Hughes couldn't sell.
There was an article someone sent me. All the people listening to our show always send me stuff, which is good because it makes it easier. I don't have to do as much searching around. And the latest article, they did a research study, and they showed that insulin that they're selling is a lot of. They're showing that the potency is not as what they're saying it is. So these diabetics are taking insulin, and they're not lowering their blood sugars. And they tested these vials of insulin. They found that they're not up to snuff. Now the study was very small. They only tested 18 vials of insulin. So they
and
really
how many came out bogus?
I'm reading it right here.
Can you imagine if Dave? Can you imagine if your protein powder 2 scoops didn't have the 50 grams that's supposed to be in there?
Forget about it. Yeah.
You'd be hung by your,
On average, they found that the vials had less than half of what was listed on the label, and none met a minimum standard.
That's nice.
Pretty bad. Yeah, it's a pretty bad article. Now, it could be that maybe the place the person bought them at, these insulin vials were not kept in a controlled temperature environment. They don't need to be refrigerated, but they need to be kept, at room temperature, no higher. And then maybe they went bad, maybe they got heated up somehow. But that's scary. These companies, that make insulin, they're making a fortune off these people who have to take this stuff, and they're overcharging for it. Okay,
of course.
Just like the GH is grossly overcharged for. But I mean, insulin. Think about it, they sell a lot more insulin because if you're a diabetic, you're using it for the rest of your life. You're not using it for like a couple weeks. So these people are dependent on this stuff. Now, let's say you take a shot of insulin and your blood sugar is still high. What are you going to do? You're going to take more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a scam because if they're putting half the amount in there, okay, people are not going to stop using insulin. They still need to use it. They're just going to have to take more of it. So that they're forcing people to take extra insulin, and they're selling more of the insulin. But what they're really doing is scamming people. Because remember, the whole thing about insulin is that insulin syringes measure insulin units across the board. In other words, every bottle is pretty much 100. If you get a U100 bottle, that means that 1 unit on an insulin pen is one IU of insulin, whether it be Humulin R or Novolog or Novolin R or Humalog. It's all the same. And so this is a very disturbing type of thing. Now, I'm afraid to go tell Milos this, because if I tell Milos this, he's going to have to double his regimen, right? Instead of 20 IUs of insulin before and after you train,
we use
the 40.
the cadaver. We use a cadaver insulin. The pig insulin.
Yeah, he's going to have to go back to the pig insulin. He's going to have to double his procedure now. And Boston Lloyd might have to double up, and I don't want Boston to kill himself or anything like that. So I'm almost afraid. I hope he doesn't listen to the podcast. Crazy, right?
Why would the research? What intrigued him enough to say, I'm going to test the insulins to see if they're like half dosed?
Who knows? People like Boston Lloyd do shit like that all the time, because they want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So they can take more of it. Insulin makers are standing by their products, saying they meet with strict government quality regulations. Diabetes experts say there's little chance that insulin being sold nationwide is so degraded.
It looks like a 50-50 chance based on the sample.
If it were true, then you would have the emergency rooms full with uncontrolled diabetic patients, which is bullshit.
No, you wouldn't. You just have people just taking their own blood sugar and making the adjustments.
No, or they would just be running high blood sugars. That's all. You don't die from the stuff. It's not like you go into like a critical stage where you're going to have a heart attack because your blood sugars are a little high. So it'll be interesting to see the follow-up on this. I'm sure now they're going to test everything because they don't take the stuff lightly. Mm-hmm. The diabetes market is huge because it's not only the insulin, it's the testing monitors, it's the true. You know what they make the most money on? The test strips.
Yeah, they used to have that. Did you ever see that like TV show? That's like the diabetic. It's like a 1-hour infomercial.
Oh, is it?
The diabetic. Yeah.
Once they figure out a way to get rid of those stupid test strips, and you could just have like a you wear like a watch or something like that, that Helos watch that they kind of help them market a little bit. It's supposed to start doing blood sugar meeting, or I should say monitoring. If you can monitor your blood sugar 24/7, now I know they have. I know Colette wears a one of these things where a little probe goes under the skin, and she knows her blood sugar all the time. Because she used to go through 6,000 of those blood testing strips when I was dating her. They were all over my house, everything. They were on the floor because they fall out of your hands. You test them. They're constantly, and they're expensive. They're expensive. Go to the store and take a look at the price on them. It's not cheap. Oh, I don't think I told you. I actually discontinued my my insulin experiment I was doing by myself.
Oh, why?
Well, I did it for
happened?
I did it for 3
Something
months.
happened.
No, I did it for 3 months, and I noticed that my blood sugar was not that good when I was taking it sometimes on big meals, and I think it was suppressing my own. So I figured, you know what? I gave my body 3 months of resting my beta cells. Let me stop taking it now, and I'm going to see how my blood sugars are. So my blood sugars actually looked better. Now, to be honest with you, I have no more data because I ran out of test strips. I ran out of test strips, so I went to Walmart to buy more because you have to buy. You can only buy it in the store where you buy your blood sugar monitor because you have to get the test strips for your blood sugar monitor. And for some reason, this one Walmart that we go to buy our house is always out of them. Always, it's like they must be. It must be like the diabetes central here in Cape Coral, Florida. Because,
well, it's an aging population in that area.
I guess.
So you can imagine.
So yeah, I haven't been able to test, but I'll let you guys know next week. So I stopped the insulin. I let my beta cells rest for 3 months, and I think now, hopefully they're regenerated, and I'm going to see how my blood sugar control is. I should have tested it today because I ate terrible today because all the snake people brought over bad food, pizzas and
what's your blood sugar usually after you eat? What is it? Does it come into a normal range, or is it?
It was running a little high 2 hours after a meal. It's supposed to come down to 130 or under 130, and mine was still running like 135, sometimes 140. It was taking longer to come down to normal. My fastings in the morning were usually pretty good. They have to be under 90. They were usually around the high 80s, which is good. Mm-hmm. So I was just doing an experiment just to see, it's once again, you know how I do my detox for 3 weeks. I just found that, if you give your beta cells a rest once a year for a couple weeks, even a couple months rather, that they'll regenerate themselves. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. I went to see a cardiologist here, and I had established with one in Florida because I hadn't gone and seen any doctors here. And this doctor I met with, Dr. Arcement, he's a bodybuilder, believe it or not. And he's one of the first doctors I've ever gone to who are really into supplementation, and he was, recommending that, CoQ10 and PPQ. PPQ is a supplement that helps regenerate mitochondria, good for heart muscle function. And he gave me a good clear bill of health. He said your heart's looking good and everything's working right, and but he listened
to the radio show.
No, but I want to get him on the radio show because I asked him point blank about the Dallas McCarver situation. I gave him all the variables. He said, let me tell you something. He said that genetic predisposition for heart disease is the number one reason why people get heart disease. Steroids don't cause people to get an 80-90% blockage in their coronary artery at the age of 26. He goes, it doesn't happen. He goes, it's a genetic predisposition. I even asked him about my heart arrhythmia I have. I said, do you think that was caused by steroid use? He goes, absolutely not. He said, you would have had this no matter what. He said, you were born with it. It was genetic. You might be realizing it now because you're getting a little older, and maybe you were doing some extreme, activities, which I said I was. He goes, look at this guys at 22 years old on a basketball court, they dropped dead of an arrhythmia. That's genetic. It's a genetic anomaly, And yeah, if you take, steroids, he goes, could they make them a little worse or speed up things? Yeah, but it's the genetic component. So he's saying Dallas McCarver could have taken 5 million milligrams of steroids or no steroids, and he still would have probably, if he didn't discover that he had a problem, died a young man. Mm-hmm. So he's like, I get sick when I hear that. He's obviously a very progressive thinking doctor. A lot of doctors don't know anything about the stuff, so they automatically just attribute it to that. But he's like, absolutely not. So I want to get him on the TV show and do an educational series on him. He's like, that's not to say you should do stuff irresponsibly. He's like, I'm not endorsing that, but what I'm saying is that steroids are not causing people to have heart attacks, and they're not causing people to have these cardiomyopathies. Those things already are genetic predispositions in these people. Can it exacerbate it or make it maybe happen faster or progress it faster? Possibly, yeah. He goes, but even people who do crazy dose stuff, they'll do other damage to their body. He goes, but they're not causing heart abnormalities. He goes, I've been doing cardiology for 25 years. He said, I've seen a lot of studies. I've looked at a lot of people. And you know what? If you go through the bodybuilding population and look at the incidences of heart disease, blockages, arrhythmias.
Keyword, I knew you were going to come to this. I knew you were going to conclude to this. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah. And you compare it to the general population, there's no difference statistically. It's the same amount of people. So, if steroids caused this, he goes, everyone would be getting it. Everyone. He goes, it would be 98% of the people getting it. Only 2% would escape the people who are genetic freaks, But that's not what we see, he said. So for people to say that, it's ridiculous. So to me, I mean, I'm not, we don't need a rationalization. That doesn't mean guys should go out and irresponsibly use steroids, but I'm just saying it was nice to see a doctor who obviously saw the wisdom of what kind of I've been talking about for years, There's a certain genetic component, and the problem is you don't know it, Mel Chancey, our good friend, after the whole Dallas McCarver thing and a lot of the stuff I talked about, went out and got a cardiac CT, and he had a blockage in one of his arteries, and he just got a stent put in. He was all depressed. I'm like, Mel, you saved your life. Could have had a heart attack because he has heart disease in his family. His dad. So you don't be stupid. Check yourself out. Go for these diagnostic tests because you don't know what your genetics are. And if it was reliable, hey, if you use steroids for 10 years, you're gonna have heart problems. Everyone will reliably, at the 5-year mark, go and get checked. But we know that's not a cause and effect. Not everyone gets it. I was asking the doctor about, HDL versus LDL cholesterol.
What do you say about that?
I said, steroids suppress HDLs. We know that, but I said my theory is that if you have low LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol, it doesn't even matter if you have low HDL, which is the good cholesterol. He goes, you're right. He goes, you're absolutely right.
It's like an income and expenses.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you have, right? I mean, if you have...
Explain what you mean so people understand the analogy.
Well, if you have a big income and big expenses, you don't
feel it, right? You don't feel it, exactly.
But if you're, I mean, your numbers could be off, meaning you could have very little income, but you could have absolutely no expenses and you're fine. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's the same thing with HDL and LDLs.
Yep.
If the bad cholesterol is non-existent, you don't need a ton of good.
You know what he told me also that was interesting? They put these people on statins. Statins are drugs that inhibit cholesterol synthesis.
Does anyone not know that statins are just horrible for you?
Do you want to know how they work? I didn't know this. He said, you know why they reduce the incidence of heart disease? Because they decrease inflammation. Inflammation is the number one cause of cardiovascular disease. He's like, so these statins are not really, it's not the cholesterol synthesis that they're inhibiting that's causing you to have less incidence of blockages and heart disease. It's the inflammation decrease. I said, well, people could take other things to reduce them. I eat an anti-inflammation diet. If you don't eat red meat, you don't eat too much chicken.
Oh, hey,
you don't eat sugar.
You're eating the Tom Brady diet.
Yeah, I call it the Steve Blackman diet. I like that better. Yeah, an anti-inflammatory. So if you eat an anti-inflammatory diet, you take your fish oil, you take your macadamia oil, which are anti-inflammatory fats. You take curcumin, which is an anti-inflammatory supplement. You can take boswellia, also another anti-inflammatory. If you do all that and you keep inflammation very low in your body, you're not going to get heart disease. That's going to be much more of a safety net. You're not going to get all the nasty side effects of the statin drugs. I said, I know why they give statin drugs, because people are fucking lazy and they don't want to do all that.
Yeah, just because it's easy. It's easy, right?
Yes, he said, absolutely. For people who are lazy fuckers, he said, we give them the statin drugs because we know they're not going to adhere to the diet and the supplement, things. But if you really, let's say you find out you have a stent and they want to put you on a statin. He goes, and you're a bodybuilder, tell them, fuck you. You could just eat an anti-inflammation diet and take a lot of anti-inflammation supplements. He goes, and you'll be just as good. And the best way, he goes, to know if you're reducing inflammation in your body is check your C-reactive protein, which obviously I'm always talking about. Matter of fact, one of the ingredients in my Omega-Lyse formula, in addition to the fish oil and evening primrose oil being in there for your essential fats, is another fatty acid known as, it's a little more esoteric one, it's an omega-7 fat. It's called palmitoleic acid. It's the number one reducer of C-reactive protein, and it's also an insulin sensitizer. So it makes you more insulin sensitive, which is exactly what you want. So, I mean, you take Omega-Lyse 3 pills twice a day, and it's almost better than taking a statin. So this is a doctor telling me. This is the first time I've ever actually heard a doctor say, you know what, these drugs suck, And believe me, he probably prescribes them for a lot of people because, like he said, people are lazy. But bodybuilders are not lazy. We're not lazy. We'll do anything you tell us to do. And that's why it's important that we put this information out there, Chris, because a lot of guys are worried. They do have a family predisposition for heart disease in their family, and they don't know what to do. They don't want to take statin drugs because they know they're not good for bodybuilding. And guys, just, watch the inflammatory foods you're eating, take anti-inflammatory supplements, and guess what? You really don't have to worry too much. So that's my diatribe for the week. I wouldn't call it a rant. It was a safety diatribe.
And you found the doctor how?
Amanda has friends. Amanda's a friend with an orthopedic surgeon. This guy Ed Humbert, who is the guy who actually referred me to the shoulder surgeon in Tampa. And he's like, I think you might like this guy. So he gave us his name. I went and looked him up, and I noticed he was involved with a rejuvenation clinic, and he looked. You could tell he worked out. I'm like, this is my guy. I said, I really was just more concerned with a guy who understood the differences in blood work you see from bodybuilders or athletes versus the layperson, and he completely got it. And he was cool. He's like, I said, I have this whole list of blood work that I want you to go for. He's like, I'll write it all for you. And so he put it in the computer. And so he was just cool. If you're in the Fort Myers area or Cape Coral area and you want a great doctor, Dr. Arseman, well, I'm going to try to get him on the show. Like I said, he's a down to earth guy. He's been doing this a lot of years. He's not an old guy. He's probably my age, but he just gets it. And I think that if every doctor out there was like him, I think we would be a much better society because he's not afraid to recommend supplements. And a lot of these doctors, they won't even tell you. They'll tell you take they'll tell you take a Centrum one a day.
Yeah, well, they'll take tons of supplements themselves, right?
I don't know. I think doctors are. You know what they do in medical school to you, Chris? They brainwash you. They brainwash you into thinking that supplements are not necessary. Just eat the right foods, a balanced diet, the food pyramid. These guys are so brainwashed. They know nothing about outside of the medical books.
Fresh air, get some fresh air.
Yeah,
regular exercise.
Yeah. So most doctors just don't think outside the box. This guy gets it.
Yeah.
Because you know why he works out.
Don't take vitamin C, huh?
The best combination of a medical educator is someone who actually trains. Because when you work out, you learn stuff in the gym. You learn about the supplements that help you. Of course you do. You learn about eating high protein, good essential fatty acids, and keeping carbs in check.
High protein is going to blow out your liver and kidneys.
No, but you learn what works because you see what works on your body. So you have this practical experience, and then you have this tremendous medical training. And if you could integrate the two and weed out the bullshit that they brainwash you with in school, you're a great doctor. That's
how anti-protein were they when you were in college for?
Yeah, they didn't know. They said you didn't need more protein than the person who was laying in a hospital bed. Yeah,
well, my Mensa used to believe that too.
You know what the funny thing? This guy actually happens to have a degree in naturopathy too, and I think that's why he's a little more open-minded. The funny thing about doctors is that when I was applying for medical school, the whole thing was you got to get into medical school, and it's very hard because they only take a certain amount of people. It's a very low percentage. And because the people who don't get into medical school usually go to osteopathic school. Now, osteopathic school, they teach you, it's a more holistic approach. It's medicine. You still do pharmacology, but you also do chiropractic manipulations, and they're more into supplementation. And the funny thing is that the medical doctors foo-foo the osteopaths because they think, those are the guys, the lackeys who couldn't get in.
Weren't even considered a doctor.
Well, because those are the guys who couldn't get into medical school. The truth is,
my mother used to tell me that.
It's
my
the
mother
truth.
used to tell me that.
But it's the truth. But
she'd call them quack doctors.
The truth is that these guys are better trained than the medical doctors are because they're training them holistically.
Now. She's come full circle. We should get her on the show.
Who?
My mother used to say
really?
There was a hospital near us called the Osteopathic Hospital of Maine, and we'd drive right by that hospital.
Quacks, right?
In emergencies or anything else to get to the regular hospital. And I used to say as a kid, why can't we just go to the hospital that's right near our house? She said, because that's where the quack doctors go. And now, where do I go to bring her? The Osteopathic Hospital of Maine.
Quacks, yeah. So it's
isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is funny, but you know what? That's what everyone thought because when I was applying to medical school, the guys who didn't get in went to osteopathic school, or they went out of the country someplace. They went to Grenada to medical school. Yeah. They had to learn Spanish.
Well, back in the day, the people, my mother used to say too, the kids who weren't smart enough to become plumbers and plumbers and to go to college would become plumbers and electricians.
Yeah, yeah, right. And those guys are those guys are the smartest ones. Yeah,
yeah, they're the smartest ones. The electrician showed up the other day. He was stuck in traffic, but he charges travel time, so he don't care.
Those guys make good money, especially the union
Tremendous
guys.
money.
Yeah, when I had my building wired up, it was a fortune. It was like 25, I think it was like 20 grand or something like that for all the electricity and stuff like that. It was nuts.
Which building? The one with the snakes?
Yeah, the snake building.
Of course.
Really expensive because they wired the whole building up. It was nothing there. I had a million thermostat. I had a million plugs put in for all the snake tubs and everything. And then lights and it was crazy. It's crazy. But after all said and done, it was worth. You got to do things the right way. I always did things the wrong way.
You absolutely have to do things the right way. You absolutely have to do things. You know why? Because if you do things the wrong way, you have to eventually do them the right way and pay twice.
Yeah, to fix them. I'm still dealing with a deck that I built a deck in New York in my house, on the back of the house. And when I sold the house, I never had a permit on it because I didn't permit it. My friend just built it. I'm still, Chris, I sold the house, a year and a half ago? I'm still trying to get the permit on this thing because they have money of mine in escrow. And they still don't have the final permit done. And now they're threatening to take money out of escrow. I'm like, I had hired...
Why? What's the process? Who do you have to see to get the permit?
It's
the city?
The town of Hempstead is the most corrupt town in the world.
So why won't they just...
Well, I hired a guy who's in with the town, to do my bidding for me, kind of like a Joe Charrier. But he's lazy, so and everything takes like fucking 3 months. So they need a permit. They need a permit for a light bulb or something like that I had on there, like a light switch or something like that. So that's the last thing that they have to do now.
So what does the guy do? Come in? He doesn't tear the deck down, right?
No, they have to inspect it, and I don't know. They have to put different things in there, and there's all codes and stuff. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
So if I would have just done it the right way and got a permit initially. The problems was, I think my house, the houses there are so close together that I don't think they was going to give me a permit because I think I would be too close to the property line to build the decks. I just built it anyway.
So you would never get the deck.
So now I had to get a variance, for them to say, okay, yeah, you can have a variance to build this deck a little close to your property line, a little closer than we're happy with. It's all a money making thing anyway. They want fees for all these things and la-da-da-da-da. Anyway,
so how much did you pay for the guy to help you get the?
He was $1,500 or something like that. But I paid for fees and filing fees, and I probably spent about $3,000 now on this whole process. Plus, they got $10,000 of mine in escrow, so I want my fucking money back, from the sale of the house. So I can just put it to rest. The other house I sold, my rental house, also had this similar deck issue. But the guy I sold it to because I gave him such a good deal, and I'm like, I'm not putting any money in escrow. I'll help you get the permits, and I'll make my guy do it because I paid the guy to do it. But you're not holding anything over my head. So I don't give a shit if he doesn't. I don't really give a shit if it takes 5 years for them to get the permits without. But the other house, I want my money. At this point, I want my money. Give me my money. What was that? Chris sent me a text with the Charles Glass, sitting at the table. I guess when he worked for Muscle Tech.
Yeah, he is the Godfather.
He was not the Codfather, the Godfather.
No, he was the Godfather.
Yeah, they had him built.
It was a Muscle Tech ad, and it was they had dressed up, I think, like the athletes kind of in.
Do you remember when Muscle Tech had every athlete working for them? Remember they had Jay, they had Phil, they had. Cormier, they had Charles Glass, they had I think Ben Pekulski was working with them, right? They had like almost everyone. Wasn't Jose on the contract with them for a while too?
I don't know. Everyone was, dude. They were just they were printing money.
Yeah, they must have.
They weren't making supplements; they were printing money.
It's crazy, right? When you think about that.
No, they had MD had 400 pages, and 300 of them were Muscle Tech ads.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. They were paying Blackman, I think, $1 million a year in advertising.
Easy.
No, I think that's what the deal was. I think it was $1 million a year. Steve actually used to fly to Canada every year just to meet with them in Toronto there.
About what?
Who knows? To make sure they gave him $1 million every year. That's what they had to do with him. That's exactly what.
There's the answer. Look,
Yeah.
that was a perfect question. That was a naive question, but a perfect answer to get the money.
Yep. Now, I did an interview with Amin Alai, another interview, one-on-one. Last week it aired, and it was talking about Craig Titus. It's a tremendously popular interview. If you guys want to watch it, it's on the site. I did a part 2 with him, and King Kamali joined him for the second part. And I'm not going to reveal it, but he tells me the story as to how Craig and Kelly killed Melissa James and what happened that night. He wasn't there, obviously, but Richard Greenbaum, who was very close to Craig Titus and who is no longer with us, he died of colon cancer this past year, he told Amin the story. That Craig had called him after it happened and told him the whole thing because they were tight at the time. Now, Amin obviously goes back with Craig because he used to do his contest prep, but he hadn't been talking to him at the time. And supposedly it's a believable story, but I don't know if I believe anything Craig says, but it's definitely believable. So you guys watch the interview this week. It's some cutting edge. Plus, Kamali is great on the show, and he talks about his days in the Sound Factory and some other funny stuff. And he actually tells the story of why him and Titus never got along. And I didn't know, but one of the things he was telling me is that when they would be on stage, remember when they would mock each other on stage?
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Kamali would call him Baldy, and it used to drive Craig crazy because Craig hated the fact that he was losing his hair.
Yeah, because he had perfect hair. It'd be like Jay losing his hair.
Yeah, he had great hair when he was a younger guy, and then so he started losing. So Kamali would be, hey Baldy, and it would drive him fucking bananas. And I guess that's when Titus started, threatening Kamali, and he would try to fight him. They'd be pushing each other on stage, and then he would try to imitate Kamali doing the robot dance. That Kamali always did, the Terminator thing routine. And they were funny together. They should have gone on tour together. The two of them. They were hysterical, but they hated it. But I don't think Kamali hated Titus as much as Titus hated Kamali. But it was pretty funny. So if you want to find out all the stories about that, it's going to be a great interview. It's the part 2. The truth about what happened with, at least as far as we know, that night. Because no one really knows what happened that night with Craig and Kelly and Melissa James. Amin tells the story, so I'm not gonna spoil it here.
What year did that happen?
2005.
Oh God! If you had, where were you working? You weren't at MD, were you?
Yeah, I was at MD. Yeah.
But they didn't have an internet site.
No, I think no, I don't think we had started it yet. I don't think we had started.
If that was going on,
we must have. We must have started.
You would have been going crazy.
It was the end of 2005 because
I would have been having emergency shows every day, emergency update shows.
I think we were. But remember, someone had started a website, TitusandRyan.com or something like that. And they were putting updates on there every 2 minutes. Everyone was checking them. Blackman was like a gossipy woman. Check it. Check the site. See what the update is. Especially when they were on the run.
What would the update be? That Titus is on the run?
Well, they were on the run, yeah, and they were putting in, he was spotted at the fucking hair salon or whatever.
What happened? He came out to Boston or something, right?
Yeah, he came to see Matt Klein. He's also dead, right? Matt Klein died. Did you know Matt Klein?
No, I didn't know Matt Klein.
I figured you would have known. Boston guy. Matt Klein and Craig were friends, and I think Craig came out there, and I don't know if Matt, he wanted Matt to help him get out of the country or something like that. Matt, I think, called the cops and told them, and that Craig was going to be in the Boston area, and I think that's why they caught him. So Craig and Kelly had to stop and get her nails done. They're murdered. They're on the run. They're wanted for murder, and they're trying to flee the country, and she's got to stop and get her nails done. And that was it. They caught him on the security cameras. And the cops came and arrested him. So
crazy.
Yeah. It's an interesting story what happened, if that's really the truth. I can believe it. But Amin tells a very interesting story. So guys, you're going to want to check that out. And we're rapidly approaching the Arnold Classic. I think maybe next week we'll start doing some prediction shows, so that people get a little taste of what's coming up. But I think that 212 class is going to be, if Hadi Chupin shows up, it'll be a blockbuster class. Even if it doesn't, I think even seeing Jose Raymond versus Kamal Gargani is going to be a great battle right there. So.
Well, don't forget, I mean, there's only like 6 guys in the show, I think.
Yeah, but they're all good. We
Okay,
got David Henry.
Why are there only, he's tremendous. Why is there only 6 212 guys?
I don't know. Maybe they don't want to fly more people in.
I mean, think about that, right?
I wish they would only have 6. I wish they would only have 6 bodybuilders in the show, open guys. No, I think 10 or 12 is perfect. Like I said, I don't like the fact that.
Well, which one is it, 6 or 12?
Well, no, I'm talking about for the open. They have about 12 guys, but I'm saying 6 is a little light. But I guess they figure, you know what, we'll get the top 6 guys.
A little light. They call 6 on the first lineup, the first call.
It's going to be a quick rejudging. What can you say? They'll do 3, and then they'll do the other 3. That's how they'll probably call it out, I'm sure. I think what the problem is, Chris, is they have so many divisions now that it gets expensive to fly all these guys out. I understand.
Oh God, I just hate when people just.
Put it this way: I'm going to give you.
It's just ridiculous.
Let me give you a scenario.
It's ridiculous. It's it's insulting.
Would you rather them have more people out there and less prize money, or would you rather them preserve some of the prize money by flying less people out there?
The prize money's not impressive. How's that for one? So let's just poo-poo that idea that it's impressive prize money. Period.
The question is, would it be lower?
I mean, God. I mean, why don't you just, like, really insult people? I mean, is it a lot of prize money? I mean, do you think that, how much is, let's just go to the open. How much does the open guy win?
I think the open's like $100,000.
Okay, Mike Francois won $100,000 20 years ago.
Right. It might be it's $130,000.
Okay.
Second prize is $75,000.
Mike Francois won $100,000, and Jay Cutler won $100,000 plus a Hummer.
Right.
And Jay won it in 2002, 15 years ago. So 2 people who I helped, right? One won a Hummer and $100,000, let's say $105,000, $110,000. That was all the way back in 2002.
Right.
And Mike in 1995, 23 years ago, won $110,000.
Yeah. It's not that much. What you're saying is the money hasn't gone up that much.
No. Adjusted for inflation, it's gone down. Mm-hmm. The prize money's gone down.
The 212 pays out $22,000 for first place. Yeah, it's not a lot. I'd almost rather see them give $52,000 for first place and give the open guy $100,000. Right?
I would like to see the money go up. Period. But I'm hearing from you that it's expensive to run the show.
It's got to be expensive to fly these guys out, put them up in the hotel, feed them.
Dave, how many people walk through that? How many? Here's my point.
Oh, they're making money. Yeah, they're making plenty.
When Mike Francois, okay, thank you. When Mike Francois won the show, do you think they had 500 million people attending the trade show?
No way. No
way.
They had a lot, but not as many.
I mean, have the gross receipts then gone up? Do you think ticket prices have gone up since when Mike Francois won the show?
I'm sure.
Okay, and based on inflation, prize money's gone down.
You're right. It's interesting. I don't. We should address that. Maybe get Arnold on the show. We'll ask him.
Well, I mean, it's a very viable question that people don't ask, because the I mean, it goes back to me. When at the Arnold Spain, I mean, that's no longer affiliated with Mannion and them, but the prize money was like peanuts.
Mm. These people want to hold it back, but let's look at the implication. They added men's classic physique, right? So now Even though it's
Okay,
a cattle call, they pay for the top.
I'm not even letting them, Dave. I'm not even letting them get away with it because I
What
know
is
you're
it-
going to say.
hold on,
And if
what
you
does
just
it cost-
Backtrack 5 years
Hold
ago.
on, just wait a
They
second.
didn't even have all these divisions, and
Right.
the prize money was the same.
All right. Well, you're saying the prize money should have gone up. I'm saying it's not going up because they're adding new divisions.
Okay,
What does it
pre-adding
cost?
the divisions,
Let's
pre-adding the
figure-
divisions
hold on,
5 years
figure it
ago, the
out.
prize money still was the same.
Let's figure this out. You add classic physique. You got to pay for the top 10 guys for their hotel, their airfare, their food. You have to pay for the sanction fee for that classic physique division, and you have to give them prize money. So what does that cost? $200,000?
No,
Yeah. Well, think about it. What does it cost for a
10
plane?
peop-
What's a plane flight?
$500.
Okay. What's a hotel for 3 nights?
Times how many people? 10 or 20?
Let's just do each. Let's figure out the hotel and airfare first.
Okay, how many people?
Let's say $1,000 for the hotel and airfare per person, plus
Times
another
how many people?
250 to 100, another
How many
$250
people?
There's
How many
1,
people?
2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, they pay for 10.
10 grand. 10 grand in how many? Okay, so how much does a small little booth cost? 2 grand?
Yeah. So that's 10 grand, and then they gotta give them another. Figure they gotta feed them a little bit. So let's say 12 grand. Okay, and then they got to pay the sanction fee, which is probably 10 grand for that division.
22.
22,000, and then they got to give prize money. What are they giving away? Let's assume they give the same prize money they give to the men's physique. Well, let's see what they're giving for prize money. I can look it up. Hold on, classic physique. Okay.
Probably giving
Person I
like
do
5
mathematics.
stars.
Yeah, they're giving 5,000. Yeah, 5 to
Are they?
50. Yeah,
Are they?
yeah.
Did I just guess that? Not
Yeah.
only is Heidi Chopin not doing the show, but I guessed that right.
All right,
to
so the
T.
top 6, I'm going to figure out all the prize money for. Hold on, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 11,000 in prize
grand
money.
total?
11,000 in prize money for this first year.
11,000. So $32,000 to put that show on.
Right.
$2,000 a booth, 15 booths.
Well, I'm just saying. Well, there's that 32,000 could have gone to raise the prize money for the 212. So that came away from there. That was taken away, don't you think?
I just think, you know what? It's not my business, but $32,000 is like zero money. It's like a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think $32,000 is a
It
lot of
doesn't seem
money
like a lot,
on-
but you got a lot of divisions. You got Arnold Open, the 212 Classic, men's physique, fitness, figure, bikini, women's physique, pro wheelchair.
Oh my God! Look at the amount of people who go to this thing.
I know.
I mean, it'd be one thing if you say, well, there's a lot of expenses in this. You know what, Dave? When you have when you have tons of revenue, expenses you don't even look at. You just don't. Ask anyone with a tremendously successful business. Of course you do. You'd always be nice to have less expenses. But, when you get really successful at a business, you just want to do it right. You don't even look at the expenses because if you do it really right, if you do it really right, you just know that, and you're good at it, that your revenue, the money coming in, will far exceed the expenses no matter what.
Right. Well, we'll see what happens in the future. Maybe we should have Jay Cutler talk to them about it. He seems to be a good guy.
It'd be nice to have Jay on and see what he thinks about the prize money.
I'm going to ask him.
I mean, because the flip side is, you know what? The flip side is, the Olympia has $400,000 first prize. They get all the divisions. They get all the stuff. They get all the expenses.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
they don't have
right.
6 people. They don't have 6 people in the 212.
You're right. We'll see what happens. We'll put some questions into these people and we'll see what they have to say about it. I'm sure there's an explanation. They must have a budget, how much they have allotted for all this stuff. But so you would like to see the prize money raised quite a bit, is what you're saying.
Well, I would just say this, that the Arnold Open prize money compared to the Mr. Olympia prize money stinks.
Yeah, it's way lower.
Just to the winner. Just to the winners, just so I can articulate it in one way. What's the winner of the Arnold Classic make?
$130,000.
130. What's Phil make?
$400,000.
Good job, Phil.
That's maybe why Phil doesn't think it's worth doing the Arnold Classic. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
Possible.
that gap is surprising.
It is, because you know what? For a while, Arnold was like right next to the Olympia in prize money, and they were going up as the Olympia was going up. So at some point, they just stopped raising the prize money. I don't know why.
Well, maybe then the flip side is, you know what? Then the flip side is that maybe they're not doing as well as you think.
I don't think so. I think we see how packed that place is. I think they're just budgeting. They have a lot of other things budgeted.
Well, then I'm right.
Yeah, then maybe you're right.
Then they just. I mean, I want to hear. You know, it's a choice, and that's all we want to pay. Because it was a choice at some point.
Yeah,
it was a choice at some point, Dave. What were you doing in 1995?
For a living.
I mean, it's a long time ago.
No, it was. Point. Yeah, I don't even remember what I was doing. That's how long it was.
It's 1995, 205 a decade later, 215 a decade later, plus 3 more years. 23 years ago, Mike Francois made 110.
Right. No, you're right. And they gave a Hummer away back then, right? Was that before or after the Hummer?
No, that came after.
I know Ronnie won a Hummer when he won, and he got a watch too.
Hummers.
Yeah,
Jay won 3 Hummers in 3 years.
Yeah, they were back then. That was a lot of money to win.
No, this is way back, because Mike proceeds in 2005. Coleman didn't win it till 8 years later, almost a decade later.
Right, but guys had been winning Hummers before Coleman.
Go look up what was the Olympia prize money in 1995. 140.
It was a little high. It was always a little higher than the Arnold. I know that.
So something happened, and you can't go, well, all the divisions and the divisions and the divisions. People got to fly all these people in. Well, what happened then? What was happening in 1995?
There was only bodybuilding though back then. I think there was bodybuilding. And
imagine that! Wow, so there's only bodybuilding, and so they didn't have the mega crazy trade shows and the zillion people, but they still gave 110,000.
No, you're right. I guess maybe Arnold was more dedicated to the athlete back then, and now they're they have so many other sports and other things in there that they diluted down the brand a little bit, at least the bodybuilding brand. Obviously, it's the Arnold USA Fitness Expo is probably the most successful fitness expo in the entire world. From a perspective of booths.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
FIBO's pretty crazy too, but I think the Arnold gets more people there. I really do.
The Arnold, Ohio is a major event. Period. And stop.
We got to get Arnold on Iron Debate. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And we'll,
why are you giving
maybe I can maybe I'll call up who can I call to get Arnold? Leon Brown?
Well, just get a quote from Phil. See what Phil thinks of the prize money. Get a quote from Coleman, Jay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's see what. I'd like to see what Jay thinks about it.
I'll hook you up with Mike Francois. You can ask him, was it a life-changing event?
Yeah, sure. For him, it was, right?
Oh, well, that's why I asked, what were you doing in 1995? $110,000 in 1995 was a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure Mike probably bought a house with that or something.
Oh, of course. But it was much more than $110,000 is today. Much more.
Right. All right. It's a good. You bring up a good point, and I think that we have to investigate more. And I want to get some top champions on, guys who've won the show before. We should ask Dexter what he thinks. He probably won't say anything though because he's still competing. But we'll get Jay on. I'll reach out to Jay.
Or just get quotes from him. I mean, they don't have to be live quotes.
Right.
People may want you can read off their quotes.
I'd like to see what Jose thinks about with the prize money. I'm sure he's not happy with it, right?
I'm sure he's not happy at all.
Because it goes from 22,000 down to 10,000. He's been coming in second the last last 2 years.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he got half of that. So 10 grand is not really a lot of money for Jose, especially when you got to pay half of that in taxes. Probably people don't realize.
Well,
that.
if you become an LLC, you can just get a pass through and pay 20%. I'm just kidding. Have to get Ron Norman in on that one.
Yeah. All right, I'm falling asleep here. I don't want to disappear on this cast. It was a crazy show. Like I said, I worked all day at this Snake Fest, and then we did the radio show, of course. This weekend will be my birthday. Valentine's Day. Are you planning on doing anything for Valentine's Day with your wife?
Yeah, we're gonna go spend the night out somewhere.
Oh, good. We can't do that yet. We're not. Our
Well,
kids
we're gonna have to probably track the 4-year-old with us, but still out.
he'll have to come with you and join you.
I mean, overnight. So.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Do you have relatives who can come watch the kids?
Nope.
You're just gonna leave them with the older boys.
Yeah. Plow them with the pizza and the movie, and we're gone. See ya.
Yeah, Valentine's Day is tough. You know, when you've lived so many Valentine's Day, it's like, you can't even be original anymore on Valentine's Day. My wife and I decided we don't buy each other gifts anymore anyway, pretty much, just because it's ridiculous. If we want something, we buy it normally. So there's nothing really that we want. We don't do birthday or Christmas anymore. We stopped it. We ended the holiday. It's only for the kids now. It's way easier that way. There's nothing that we need. You know what I mean? You know how you get to a point in life where
you're getting old. You're getting old. You don't need it. Listen, pretty soon Logan's going to give you underwear for your birthday, and you're going to be saying, "Oh, it's exactly what I need."
Exactly. Old Spice.
Socks.
Old Spice aftershave. I'll be getting from Logan. Like I used to get my dad every year.
No, because my kids one year got me socks, and I'm like, "How old do you think I am? I mean, you can get me like something exciting."
Socks might not be a bad idea. I never have enough pairs of socks, so. Whatever Logan decides. Like I'll have to be. I'm going to be like my dad. Yeah, I'm going to be like my dad. Make me a gift. Yeah, draw me a picture. That's what my dad would say. Make me a card.
I have a drawer of like 300 pairs of different like black or brown socks that I can't find two that match.
Oh yeah, it's the sock thieves, that take them out of the dryer.
Yeah. Someone takes them.
I told my sister, I said, when you clean out Daddy's house, I said, and you move all that, get rid of those washers and dryers, you're going to find 4 million socks that we probably lost, for the first 35 years of our lives that we lived there, All right, we're out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
Good night. We'll see you next week. Enjoy Valentine's Day.
911!